Maria, a 68-year-old woman with silver-streaked hair and a kind face etched with the lines of a life well lived, walked slowly through the dimly lit parking lot. The cold evening air stung her cheeks as she tightly gripped two heavy grocery bags, her fingers aching from the weight. The flickering streetlights cast uneven shadows across the lot, making her feel uneasy. She wore a modest coat, slightly worn but warm enough to keep the biting chill at bay. Her steps were deliberate, yet there was a hint of exhaustion in her stride after a long day of errands. This evening should have been filled with joy and anticipation. After years of separation, Maria was preparing for a special reunion with her family. Her daughter, Carla, and her grandchildren were flying in for New Year, and Maria had spent the day shopping for everything she needed to make the holiday memorable. Yet, as she approached her car in the nearly deserted parking lot, she couldn't shake the growing unease in the pit of her stomach. At the far end of the lot, the hum of an engine interrupted the stillness. A sleek black SUV pulled into an empty space, its polished exterior gleaming under the streetlights. The driver's door opened, and out stepped LeBron James. Dressed casually in a hoodie and jeans, the NBA star seemed relaxed, blending into the quiet evening like any other passerby. He had stopped to grab a quick drink or snack from the nearby convenience store, taking a rare moment to enjoy the calm after a hectic schedule. Unnoticed by Maria or the few others nearby, LeBron glanced around the parking lot, his sharp eyes scanning the area instinctively. Though the lot appeared quiet, there was a subtle heaviness in the air, an undercurrent of tension that he couldn't quite place. His gaze briefly fell on Maria, watching her shuffle towards her car, her frail frame barely able to carry the weight of her groceries. He hesitated for a moment, sensing something was off, but shook it off and began walking towards the store. For Maria, every step felt heavier, the uneven asphalt beneath her feet making it harder to maintain her balance. She quickened her pace, eager to reach her car and escape the growing chill in the air. Little did she know, this quiet evening was about to take a drastic turn, one that would test her courage and bring an unexpected hero to her aid. Maria placed her grocery bags on the ground beside her car, her hands trembling from the cold and exhaustion. She reached into her purse, fumbling for her keys, when the low growl of a motorcycle echoed through the parking lot. The sound was loud and intrusive, shattering the uneasy quiet of the chilly evening. Startled, Maria glanced up to see a rough-looking man in a black leather jacket pulling up near her car. His motorcycle gleamed under the dim streetlights, and his presence exuded menace. The man, tall and broad-shouldered, stepped off the bike with a smirk plastered across his face. He scanned the parking lot with a casual arrogance before his gaze landed on Maria. There was something cruel in his eyes as he watched her struggle to bend down and pick up one of the heavy bags she had just placed on the ground. Maria felt his stare but tried to ignore it, hoping he would leave her alone. "Hey, Grandma," he called out, his voice loud and mocking. "Need some help with those bags? Or maybe you should stay home where you belong." Maria stiffened but didn't respond, focusing instead on loading her groceries into the trunk of her car. Her fingers trembled as she lifted one bag, but before she could place it in the trunk, the man took a step closer. The scent of gasoline and leather lingered in the air, and his boots crunched against the gravel as he moved. "Don't ignore me, old lady," he sneered. "Not very polite, is it?" Without warning, he kicked one of her grocery bags, sending it toppling over. Cans of food and a carton of eggs spilled out, rolling across the cold asphalt. Maria gasped, instinctively crouching down to pick up the scattered items. Her heart pounded in her chest as she clutched a loaf of bread that had fallen. "Oops," the biker said, his tone dripping with fake innocence. "Didn't mean to do that. Guess you're not as steady on your feet as you used to be, huh?" His mocking laughter echoed through the parking lot, and Maria's face flushed with a mixture of fear and humiliation. She tried to stand, clutching the bread tightly, but the man kicked another bag, scattering more groceries. "Please, stop," Maria pleaded, her voice trembling. why are you doing this? Just leave me alone. But her words only seemed to amuse him further. He leaned against his motorcycle, crossing his arms with a smug grin. What's the matter, Grandma? Can't handle a little fun? Maria's knees wobbled as she bent down again, trying to gather her things as quickly as possible. Tears stung her eyes, but she bit her lip, determined not to cry. The biker's cruel laughter rang out once more as he nudged a can of soup with his boot, sending it rolling far out of her reach. Look at this, he said, gesturing to her scattered groceries. Maybe I should just take some for myself. After all, what are you gonna do about it? Maria clutched one of the bags to her chest, her body trembling. The weight of the situation bore down on her, making her feel small and powerless. Her voice wavered as she begged again, please, just leave me alone. The biker's smile faltered for a moment as he glanced around the parking lot. Fine, he muttered, taking a step back. But then he laughed again, loud and harsh, as though reveling in her discomfort. Merry Christmas, Grandma. Maria sank to her knees, trying desperately to pick up the rest of her groceries. The cold asphalt bit into her palms, and her heart ached with fear and helplessness. Unbeknownst to her, however, someone had been watching the entire scene unfold from across the lot. LeBron James, leaning casually against his black SUV, had seen enough. His calm demeanor shifted as he straightened up, his piercing gaze locked onto the biker. What had started as a cruel game for the man was about to become a moment he would never forget. LeBron's easy posture stiffened. He set the water bottle down on the hood of his car and began walking toward the scene. His steps were calm and measured, but his eyes were locked on the biker with a focus that could cut through steel. As he got closer, he saw the fear in Maria's trembling hands and the cruel smirk on the biker's face. Hey, LeBron called out, his deep voice cutting through the laughter. The biker turned to him, his grin fading slightly as he took in LeBron's towering figure. Is there a problem here? LeBron asked calmly, his voice steady but firm. He glanced down at Maria, offering her a brief look of reassurance before focusing on the biker again. The biker crossed his arms, his smug smile returning. What's it to you, man? Just having a little fun with Grandma here. LeBron's jaw tightened, but he kept his composure. Doesn't look like fun to me. It looks like you're picking on someone who can't fight back. That's not okay. The biker laughed, shaking his head. What are you, some kind of hero? Stay out of it, big guy. This isn't your business. LeBron stepped closer, his presence alone making the biker falter for a moment. It is my business when I see someone being treated like this. You need to stop now and walk away. The biker sneered, trying to mask his growing unease. What are you gonna do about it? You think you're tough or something? LeBron didn't flinch. He stood tall, his calm demeanor unwavering as he glanced at Maria, who was still on the ground clutching one of her bags. I'm not here to fight you. But I'm not letting you treat her like this. So I'm asking you one last time, leave her alone. The biker took a step forward, trying to intimidate LeBron, but the basketball star didn't move an inch. His protective stance and unshaken calmness radiated strength. For the first time, the biker hesitated, sensing the silent authority LeBron carried. Maria looked up at LeBron, tears in her eyes, and saw something she hadn't felt all evening, hope. The biker's arrogance began to crumble under LeBron's unwavering gaze, and the tense parking lot felt like it was on the brink of something much bigger. The biker took a step closer to LeBron, his smug grin replaced with a look of defiance. You think you can just walk up and tell me what to do? He sneered, his voice laced with arrogance. You don't know who you're messing with. LeBron stood his ground, his calm expression unchanging. I'm not here to argue with you. You're harassing this woman, and it needs to stop now, he said firmly, his voice commanding yet steady. The biker laughed harshly, trying to mask his growing unease. What are you, her bodyguard? You think you're some kind of tough guy? He leaned in closer, trying to intimidate LeBron with his size and aggressive tone. LeBron didn't budge. His calm, unshaken demeanor only made the biker's arrogance seem smaller. It's not about being tough, LeBron said, his voice low and deliberate. It's about doing what's right. And right now, you're in the wrong. The tension in the parking lot grew thicker as a few people stopped to watch. Some pulled out their phones, recording the scene as the confrontation escalated. Maria, still clutching her grocery bag, looked on with both fear and hope, her trembling hands pressed against her chest. The biker glanced around, noticing the small crowd forming. His smugness faltered for a moment, but he quickly recovered, refusing to back down. You think all these people watching are gonna save you? He barked, his voice rising in anger. I don't care who you are. LeBron raised an eyebrow, his calm gaze locked on the biker. You should care, he said simply. Because the way you're acting says a lot more about you than me. And right now, everyone here is seeing it. The biker clenched his fists, his frustration boiling over. He took a step back, as if to leave, but suddenly lunged forward, trying to shove past LeBron. Without missing a beat, LeBron sidestepped, blocking him with ease. His sheer presence stopped the biker in his tracks, forcing him to step back once again. Enough, LeBron said, his tone sharper now. You're not going anywhere until you apologize to her. He gestured toward Maria, who was still watching in stunned silence. Realizing he was outmatched, not just by LeBron's physical presence but by the growing crowd and their phones pointed at him, the biker hesitated. His arrogance cracked as the reality of the situation set in. LeBron's calm but unyielding stance left no room for escape. The biker glanced at Maria, his pride still holding him back, but LeBron's steady gaze bore into him. Do the right thing, LeBron said firmly. The biker, his shoulders slumping slightly, finally muttered, I'm sorry, under his breath, though the words lacked sincerity. LeBron didn't move, still standing tall. Say it like you mean it, he said, his voice unwavering. The biker hesitated but finally said, louder this time, I'm sorry. Only then did LeBron take a step back, letting the biker walk away under the weight of the crowd's judging eyes. The parking lot fell quiet, the tension lifting as the onlookers murmured in admiration for LeBron's courage and composure. As the sound of police sirens approached, the tense atmosphere in the parking lot began to ease. A few bystanders pointed the officers in the biker's direction, who was now trying to blend into the crowd, his earlier bravado nowhere to be seen. LeBron stood calmly beside Maria, his towering presence still protective, while Maria clutched her groceries tightly, her trembling hands betraying the fear she still felt. Two officers stepped out of the patrol car and quickly assessed the situation. One approached the biker, who tried to play innocent, muttering, It's just a misunderstanding. No big deal. But the murmurs from the growing crowd quickly drowned him out. Several witnesses stepped forward, phones in hand, ready to show the videos they had recorded of his harassment. Maria, her voice shaky but resolute, recounted the ordeal to one of the officers. She described how the biker had mocked her, kicked her groceries, and shoved her to the ground. Tears welled up in her eyes as she relived the frightening moments. The officer nodded with understanding, reassuring her, We'll take care of this, ma'am. You're safe now. The biker, realizing he had no way out, finally dropped his act. The officers reprimanded him sternly for his actions, emphasizing the seriousness of harassment and cruelty. You think this is acceptable behavior? One officer said, his tone sharp. You're lucky no one was seriously hurt. The biker was issued a citation and warned that further consequences would follow if he didn't change his behavior. Meanwhile, LeBron turned his attention back to Maria. Kneeling down, he gently picked up her scattered groceries, carefully placing each item back into her bags. Are you okay, ma'am? He asked, his voice warm and reassuring. Maria nodded, though her hands still trembled. "Thank you," she whispered, her gratitude overflowing. "I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't stepped in." LeBron smiled softly, helping her to her feet. "You don't need to thank me," he said. "No one should ever have to go through something like that." As the officers escorted the biker away, the crowd broke into applause. People approached LeBron, commending his bravery and kindness. One bystander remarked, "The world needs more people like you." LeBron waved off the praise, staying humble as always. Before leaving, LeBron made sure Maria was safely in her car and gave her a final reassuring nod. "Take care of yourself, and have a great evening," he said. Maria smiled through her tears, knowing she would never forget his kindness. As Maria drove home that evening, the weight of the incident began to settle in, but her heart was filled with gratitude. The fear she had felt moments earlier had been replaced by a sense of relief and awe. She couldn't help but think about LeBron James, how he had stepped in without hesitation, standing up for her in a way she hadn't expected. His quiet strength, kindness, and protective demeanor had turned what could have been a traumatic experience into a moment of hope. When she finally parked in her driveway, Maria took a deep breath and reached for her phone. She dialed her daughter's number, her hands still trembling slightly. "Mom, are you okay? You sound shaken," her daughter said as she answered. "I'm fine now," Maria replied, her voice soft but steady. "You won't believe what happened to me tonight. A biker started harassing me in the parking lot, but then LeBron James, yes, the LeBron James, stepped in and stopped him. He was so kind, so brave. I don't even know how to describe it. He's a hero." On the other end of the line, her daughter was silent for a moment, processing the unexpected story. "LeBron James? Mom, are you serious? That's incredible. He's always been one of my favorite players, but this just makes me admire him even more." Maria nodded, though her daughter couldn't see her. "It's not just about what he did for me," she said. "It's about the message he sent to everyone there. That kindness and courage can make all the difference in someone's life." Meanwhile, LeBron returned home that evening, reflecting on the incident. Sitting on his couch with his family, he decided to share a post on social media. He uploaded a simple picture of his sneakers beside Rocco, his loyal pit bull, with the caption, "Tonight was a reminder that kindness isn't just a choice, it's a responsibility we all share. Stand up for what's right, no matter how small the action may seem. You never know how much it could mean to someone else." The post went viral within hours, with fans praising LeBron not just for his actions on the court but for his character off it. Comments flooded in, with many sharing their own stories of standing up for others and spreading kindness. For Maria, the night had been more than just a close call. It was a turning point. She realized that despite the cruelty she had faced, there was still so much good in the world, people willing to step up and help when it mattered most. As she watched her grandchildren play the next day, she smiled, knowing she had a story to tell them about courage and kindness. And so, the incident became a reminder for everyone who heard about it: heroes don't always wear capes, and sometimes, they're the ones who simply choose to stand up when no one else will. Thank you for reading this story. If you believe in spreading kindness and standing up for what's right, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories. Together, we can make the world a better place, one story at a time.